Here, I'll just narrate this a little while it's up. This is Reggie, my dad. He was a factory rider for Reading Standard. He rode board tracks. He was darn near as popular as Michael Jordan, if you can believe it, in the 1920s, when motorcycling was not a little fringe sport. It was right after horse racing. Hill climbs drew huge crowds, and he went to Europe in the 20s to ride. Reliability runs were kind of an equivalent of today's Grand Prix road races. When you think about it, the roads were all dirt, so they couldn't call them road races. Most of the roads were dirt, so they would run 500 miles on these old belt drive contraptions, fixing them along the way. And whoever got there first or had the best time was the champion. And he brought back from England championship hill climb trophies, reliability run trophies that are gorgeous silver pieces. And he lived, ate, and slept motorcycling. If he was a better businessman than a motorcycle enthusiast, I'd probably be eating beef hot dogs instead of them chicken dogs today. This is a bike called an Ariel. He was the first man to import Ariel into this country, and he was quite a promoter and entrepreneur. Most of my youth I remember as a 10-year-old, a 7, 8-year-old, stamping, postal machine, and addressographing mailers called the Pinkogram that he'd send out, the Cortona motorcycle green streak, or the Reggie Pinkogram, always promoting the sport and what was happening. And he literally started the import motorcycle business in the 20s, about 1924, 27, and did a great job of getting the sport off the ground and on its feet. It used to be that the East Coast was the starting point of motorcycling. Because everything came from England, the East Coast was important. Later on, everything was shipped to California, and California became the center of motorcycling. And everything that happened on the East would happen 2 years after it got to California. But in his day, it went from the East Coast west. This is a picture here with Reggie at a hill climb, and some of these guys are extremely famous guys. One, Joe Petrelli's in there, was a famous guy. Next one. This was just an advertising picture of his store down in the Bronx on Southern Boulevard and 180th Street, where he sold the motorcycles. You see, very modern, very promotional for a guy of the 1920s. He'd have made it big today. The good guy, the handsome guy in the middle is me with that nice gray coat. Now, Doug, the gray-haired guy, that's him up front. Reggie, my mom, Bernice, and Donna. This hot blonde here. No, yeah, that one. That's the little one. That was taken out in front of our house, and I keep that picture in my wallet all the time, just so I remember where it started for me. My brother Don was probably the finest gentleman and motorcycle rider that I ever knew. He became almost a father to me after Reggie died, I think it was 62. He looked after me, took care of me in my racing, was a mentor and a coach as to how to be a man, not a brat, and how to be respectful to people. And he did everything you could do on a motorcycle. I don't think there's numbers big enough to count the trials, enduros, and scrambles that he won. He was literally a local legend and had very big respect nationally. There was no place I went that people didn't know Don Pink. And oddly enough, somebody said it to me tonight when they were looking at the pictures, and it's something I heard so many times as growing up. He said, you know, Don is the smoothest rider I ever saw. He looks like everything is a Sunday ride. He's just scooting through the woods like a weasel. He said, just don't try and keep up. You'll get sucked in. You'll be putting Band-Aids on and fixing your motorcycle. And don't try and keep up with Don Pink. I've heard that 50 times over my life. And I heard it again tonight from somebody who rode with him back in the 40s. And it was true. I was stupid. I tried to keep up with him. And the Band-Aids were there. But he had to pay to fix the motorcycle. That picture there means a lot to me. These are those little 125 and 165 Harleys that have kind of been forgotten. You just don't hear about them. But those are the bikes that opened up a whole new era of motorcycle experience to people. They were light, they were inexpensive, you could ride them off-road, you could ride them on the street, you could race them. And this was at a particular event, was what they call a closed course enduro, where you didn't go on the street, you rode an enduro, off-road, mud, rocks, the most god-awful terrain. Don was the best at it. He's on the right. My older brother, Doug, he was still kicking my butt at that time, but maybe only another year or so before I took care of him. I'm only kidding. And that's me on that real cream puff with the rubber band forks and the 125 on the end. They painted on the gas tank Butch's Bomb. That my nickname when I grew up was Butch, and that bike was my bomb. And I had a ball. Reggie's behind, and Don's wife, Leslie, behind him. Great times with all three brothers riding together, learning from one another. I had it the best because I had both my brothers to show me. Whatever they did that worked, I had lots of teachers, lots of mentors, and I just sucked it all in. I really wanted to be better than both of them. And that was no mean task, I got to tell you, because they could all ride. They could ride real good. This is later in my career, towards the end as a pro. I don't know what track this is, but I was riding the XR 750 on the AMA Pro Circuit with the miles and half miles, and that was just as much fun as you can have. To go really fast on a really fast motorcycle, to be in high gear with the throttle pin, the wheel spinning, and you're just feet up sliding sideways, and there's no reason at all to shut off. You just keep it on and then do it again. You just can't have any more fun than that. Of course, that concrete stuff on the outside, that'll give you a reality check once in a while, you know. And I did park my sorry bones against it on a few occasions. And one time that finished my career was a broken back I got at Middletown, New York. We were riding that bike, and God, that might have even been the day. I was leading the race, going really, really good. I was on top of the world, and I had a brake rotor shatter. The tires had gotten bigger, and the grip was getting better with these, and it kind of went past the mechanical capacity of the brake to stay together. And when the brake rotor shattered, I went down and I went back first into the retaining wall, and at that time they didn't use hay bales. It was not a safety or green environment, or however you want to say it. When you put your signature on the entry form and you rolled to the starting line, the lawyers weren't there. What it was is what it was, and if you didn't like it, don't ride. And I wound up going in pretty hard. I broke 5 ribs and broke my back, and that pretty much finished my pro career. I had took too long to heal from that, and just couldn't come back. But it was the end of 20 years of fun, and I'd do it again in a minute if my wife wasn't looking. There's only one thing in the whole world I'm afraid of. There's one thing. She's sitting at that table right there.